Do you have a small engine that won't run? Today on Repair Geek, I show you how to clean a carburetor on basically any small engine. So to be able to clean a carburetor, it would be beneficial to understand the basics of how a carburetor works. So this is a basic rudimentary carburetor I have drawn out here. So you have fuel coming to the carburetor from the fuel tank, and it goes into a bowl down here on the bottom of the carburetor. And inside this bowl you have a float that is attached to a needle, and the needle goes into a machine surface in the carburetor called a seat. So when the fuel level goes down in the carburetor, it pulls the needle off the seat, allowing fuel to fill the bowl until the float floats, then shutting off fuel flow to the carburetor. Now, once you have fuel down in here, when you attempt to start the engine, air comes through the body of the carburetor, creating a Venturi effect and pulling fuel up through this metered orifice here called a jet, through the throttle plate and into the engine. The two places that a carburetor will get clogged, usually in a small engine, is in the jet and the needle and seat. You'll end up with gunk and grime and varnish and all kinds of just trash when you let it sit for a long period of time with bad gas in it. So the needle will stick, the jet will gum up, and you'll have no fuel flow and it will not run. Sometimes you can do this with the carburetor in place. There's enough room that you can pop the bowl off the bottom. I don't have enough room inside this four-wheeler to do that, so I just took the whole thing off because you guys would never be able to see what I'm talking about. So, like I said, the bowl's down here on the bottom. It's got 4 Phillips screws in it in each corner. I'm going to pull the bowl off the bottom and show you guys what's inside. So inside the carburetor, you have your float, and here's your jet. So, like I said, float level goes down. This carburetor is mounted upside down. So that's why I'm pulling the float up. When I say the float level goes down, it will fill up and shut. And that there is the needle moving up and down. Here's a shot of that needle that I was talking about earlier that's on the end of the float. The tip of that will get gummed up with varnish or sludge or whatever and keep the carburetor from filling with gasoline, so the engine will never run. So you want to pay attention to that and the jet. So basically, pull your floats out. It's just got a little pin here in the corner. Slide that pin out. This will lift straight up. Take your jet out, just a flat blade screwdriver, and crack it loose. It'll come right out as well. Hose out the needle and seat with, carburetor cleaner, or put it in ultrasonic like I did. It's really your choice. But that's how I got this thing to run again. I'm sure this will be beneficial to somebody out there, because with ethanol gas, it's kind of a ongoing problem. So I got the carburetor off, and it's laying on the bench here, and I started shaking it up and down, dumping the gas out, and you come over here and look, there's a bunch of solid just garbage falling out of the inside of this carburetor. So I'm going to say that's going to be a problem. So obviously I've got to go inside this thing, figure I'll show you guys this in real time, because I'm as interested to see inside of this thing as I'm sure some of you are. The thing is, if I tear a gasket, get this thing apart, I'm going to end up ordering a new carburetor, because I think the rebuild kit's like $25 and you can buy the whole carburetor for $32 or $33, something like that. So it really doesn't make sense to even bother rebuilding the thing. See, and that's what you get when you let stuff sit for long periods of time. Here, let me get a light. So this thing had a hole in the top of the gas cap. So anything that ended up in the tank went right down inside the carburetor. So some people blame this on ethanol gas. I kind of blame it on ethanol gas and a combination of a hole in the top of the gas tank. So this thing, there's no way this thing's gonna run. Period. I'm surprised I got as much gas as I did out of this thing, because this is pretty crazy. I mean, it's just caked in here. I'm sure that jet's pretty well sludged up. It's all over the floats, all over the jets, all over the needles and seats and everything. So we'll see. So what this is doing is basically shooting, from what I understand, it's shooting sound waves at the parts inside the container. You fill it full of, whatever solvent you want to use. Obviously mix it with water and cut it and let it do its thing. You don't necessarily need something like this, but I have it, so I'm going to use it. You can get the exact same result using, regular old carburetor cleaner out of an aerosol can and a couple rags and wire brushes and go to town. But I have the tool, so I'm going to use it. Alright guys, so that is how you clean a carburetor on a small engine. They're much more simple than one in a car or some larger piece of equipment or something like that. So if you've never screwed with a carburetor before, this is the best place to start, because even if you screw this up, this carburetor for this quad, the rebuild kit is 25 bucks. I can buy the whole carburetor for 32. So if a gasket gets torn or you break something off in it or whatever, it's not going to really cost you a whole ton of money. So if you want to learn about these, this is the way to do it. If you guys liked the video, hit like. If you didn't, hit dislike. If you want to see more content from me, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.